Keeping it real, who that sports pod? Legendary Coach Rock. Go 17. Let's rock. Who that? Boss kick. Black and gold. Let's go. First and goal from the one. Let's believe. We go punch. Punching in. Get them punch. With them Saints. Watch us march. Down the field. Down your throat. Keeping it real. Who that sports? Breaking news. Interviews. Open lines just for you. Call in, join in. Who that nation? How you doing? Come on in. Take a seat. Sit back. Relax. Put your feet up. Grab a drink. And let's talk Saint football. Y'all know what time it is. Time to keep it real. Let's go. I'm about to bring my brother on. You know this guy. He needs no introduction. He's the host of Real Fan Sports and also a member of the Come On In Sports Network. And he's true and true, black and gold, through and through, baby. Zach, come on in.
Yes, sir. What's good, baby? How we doing?
We doing good, man. Special night, big night, man. Because we got one of the first guests. He was in that early number when your boy Dolph first started, man. This been too long, but my brother is here tonight, family. You know this, man. You see him on Twitter. A lot of y'all want to go back and forth with him because you don't like what he has to say about your beloved New Orleans Saints. But damn it, you really gonna be upset tonight. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome to the show the managing editor and lead Saints writer for Saints Wire USA, Mr. John Stigler. Sig, come on in.
I love that intro. Love it. Thanks for having me on the show again, guys. It's been too long. Glad we had time tonight.
Yeah, great, man. Again, we thank you for being here, man. I know I had some subscribers, some family members reached out, man, and said, "Dog, we gonna have some questions for John." I say, "Hey, put them in the chat, and if we got time, hey, we'll see if John can answer them for you, man." But first of all, John, before we even get started talking about the New Orleans Saints, there's something that I wanted to know, man. When did your love for journalism and sports in general begin?
Oh man, so I went to college to be a high school history teacher at USM back in 2013 is when I started, I think, and I was really doing all this kind of on the side because I was writing 10, 15 page research papers every month about all sorts of historical stuff, and right. I needed a break. I needed something fun, and so I started doing this. And John Hendricks reached out to me. He's right now he's at New Orleans Football. Before that, he's been at Sports Illustrated. He's been all over. I owe everything I've got to that guy. And he was like, "Hey man, you're pretty good at this. You want to get paid for it?" And I was like, "Yeah, let's do it." And yeah, and that really was my end there. And so, man, I've just been kind of climbing ever since, getting from one platform to the next, building up my audience, and getting to come on shows like this with you guys. And it's been a wild ride. It's not something I ever envisioned, supporting my family with. But I just couldn't be happier with how it's turned out so far. So we just hope that arrow keeps trending up.
Yes, sir.
Hey, yes, absolutely, sir. Man. It's awesome.
So who are the people, John, would you say were the most influential in your life and shaping the man that you are today?
Oh man, it really goes back to my parents. For real. A lot of people say that, but my life would be dramatically different if I didn't have them. I became a dad at a young age. I was a 17-year-old father, and having that support network with my family really empowered me to do a lot of stuff like that a lot of people just wouldn't have the opportunity to do, like go to college. And I've had custody of my daughter since she was 2 years old, and we're getting a driver's license next week. And
oh, goodness. Getting old, John.
Yeah, I'm telling you, I got gray hairs in my beard now. It's awful.
Oh man, you young pup, baby. You're a young pup, baby.
You work a lot better than I do, Mr. Dolph. But yeah, and just having that family support really set me up for success, and I just cannot be grateful enough to them for being such a positive influence on me, and shouldering the load with me along the way.
Right.
Absolutely.
And what advice would you give young, aspiring sports journalists who are just starting out right now?
Man, just keep grinding, man. You never know who is reading, who is listening. You never know. You don't know. You don't know who is on the other end of the line, and practice your craft for real. Seek out people who have done it, people who have been there and done that, and see what you can learn from them. Learn from their experience. Be open to feedback too. I mean, there's so many. I don't want to like get big-headed or nothing, but there's a lot of people out there who think they haven't figured out right away, and there's still stuff I'm learning now today.
Right.
And keep an open mind, be receptive to feedback. Keep grinding, and your opportunities are going to come. But it's certainly not easy. I was incredibly lucky to end up where I'm at, and just stay determined and keep chopping wood.
Yes, sir. Keep chopping wood, man. Keep chopping wood. So let's get into talking about our favorite team to talk about. The New Orleans Saints, baby. Who that nation, baby? Who that nation's checking in? Man, got everybody coming in. They know you're here, so they'll be coming in. JT sends his love and blessings to you, John. All right. And everybody knows Uncle Jerry is what we call him, but Jerry is everywhere, baby. The man is who that nation through and through, baby. The OG is everywhere. Okay, John. Let's get started. So the New Orleans Saints coaching search goes until the wee hours. I'm going to say it's the last job that's available. Many say that it was the least attractive job because of the salary cap situation that many around the nation just keep using to nauseam. And the other day it was reported that Kellen Moore really did want the New Orleans Saints head coaching job bad. It wasn't that he settled for it. Did you think the Saints will be able to get Kellen Moore, or did you think they will have to settle for a lesser coach or keep Darren Rizzi?
No, I think that they were certainly open to that, to keeping Darren Rizzi, building around him a little bit. But Kellen really gave them that direction they were looking for. That's really what they wanted, was who is the young Sean Payton out there right now. And they thought it was Ben Johnson, and Ben Johnson didn't want him. So they had to go somewhere else. And they wanted Aaron Glenn, and rightfully so, I think.
Yeah.
And Glenn didn't really want to come here neither. So while I think it's true that the Saints didn't get the top guys that they wanted. I wouldn't blame the salary cap for that. I think a bigger issue is, the Saints kind of have a kind of a country club set up right now, where Mickey Loomis has been here forever, and all his lieutenants, and Dennis Lausch has been here forever, and it's kind of like if you're not in, then you're out, and
right.
that does not apply. That does not appeal to a lot of people who want to come in here and run the ship like Sean Payton did. They don't want that kind of a power struggle. But Kellen Moore, I mean, I think back to, I think it was the 2020 season, or it was his first year calling plays with Mike McCarthy as the head coach. And I can remember people back then talking about, hey, this guy might be the next hot thing, the next head coach here, rising up the ranks. Might be the next Cliff Kingsbury, the next Sean McVay.
Right.
And so he's kind of been chomping at the bit ever since then, wanting to be a head coach, wanting that opportunity, and he's had to move around a lot, go from Dallas to LA to Philly, and to his credit, I think he's done really well in those stops. He's done a lot to help himself. He kind of got thrown out with the bathwater in the Charger, but he landed.
That's true.
Yeah, he did well in Philly last year, obviously, and we hope he'll do well in New Orleans. So, out of the guys that they were talking to, the finalists, he was the one that I thought was probably the best candidate there. And I'm happy they got him, and I'm really eager to see what his vision for the team looks like.
So I'm going to ask you, because there was a rumor going around that Aaron Glenn had a request that Mickey Loomis be removed if he was even to consider being the head coach of the New Orleans Saints. Did you hear anything of that nature?
No, I haven't heard anything like that. I don't know how credible that is.
Right. That's why I wanted to ask you.
I do know. I mean, that's kind of what I was alluding to, though. How Mickey being here and being at the top of the chart, that didn't appeal to some people, and I think Aaron Glenn was one of those people who, he wants to hitch his wagon up with his choice at GM. There, he doesn't want it to be somebody that he's inheriting, and when we see that all the time in the NFL, where coaches and GMs want to come in together, work together, and know that, hey, my job security is tied to your job security, and we're not about to be stabbing each other in the back or arguing or butting heads. We want to be in lockstep here, and the easiest way to achieve that is by both of y'all coming in at the same time, both of y'all getting 6-year contracts like the 49ers did with Kyle Shanahan and the GM who can't draft in the first round to save his life. And I really think that's what a lot of guys, that's the ideal setup there. So, I didn't hear anything credible about Glenn wanting Mickey out, but I think if Mickey had been out and his choice was, hey, we can promote Kai Harley, we can promote Jeff Ireland. If there's somebody else that you'd like, we can bring them in. I think that would have made it a much more appealing opportunity to him.
Gotcha. Right.
Yeah. So, I mean, through these, first couple months with Moore, officially being named our head coach, going through the draft and everything, what are some positive, outlooks that you have? I mean, I felt like this didn't feel like a Mickey Loomis draft. I felt like this was a draft ran by Kellen Moore. Did you have similar feelings? How do you see Kellen Moore's done so far?
Yeah, I think he's done well so far. I love that it's a whole new coaching staff. I think there's only 2 or 3 people, maybe 4, returning from last year, which is that they needed that breath of fresh air and those fresh perspectives and guys who can make the kids take the damn iPads home and watch tape after practice. and I think they've done that, and they've got a lot of experience on the coaching staff. Having Scott Linehan there as an advisor, I think that's awesome. Scott Tolzien is the QB coach. Doug Messmeyer, that's a lot of former QBs on staff there, and that helps me think that, okay, it's not going to be like the Bears last year throwing Caleb Williams out the plane without a parachute, where he's going to have those guys who can show him how to break down film in the NFL.
That was crazy. They had no one to help him go through film breakdown, learning the plays and everything like that. They just were like, all right, yeah, you got it. Go ahead. And then people just wonder why the Bears are always the Bears,
Right. It was wild, man. But that's what Seth Wickersham does. He goes off the grid for 8 months, and then he comes back and just has an expose on somebody, and you hope it's not your team every time. But back to Kellen Moore and the Saints this offseason, I really liked their approach in the draft. They didn't check off every item on the to-do list, but they did show a lot of restraint where they're not trading future picks to move up and going up here to burn future assets. I thought they did a good job of kind of hedging their bets a bit by drafting so many players. I look at the draft as every pick is an opportunity at the plate. And sometimes you make contact, you get an RBI, you hit a double, a triple. Sometimes you strike out. But to me, the more opportunities you have to swing at the plate, the more often you're going to make contact. And that's really what this team needs, is they need, from the 9 players they drafted, they need 5 or 6 of them to still be on the team in 2 to 3 years, being productive, getting active on game days, and really doing a lot to get this roster where it needs to be. And yeah, they showed a lot of restraint. They drafted some pretty big needs. The one pick I was really most critical of was Tyler Shuck, and if he meets expectations, if he starts, if he plays some good football this year, then no one's going to care that they drafted him at 40 overall. So that was the one I didn't really like. I loved what they did on the 3rd day. I loved Kelvin Banks to start the draft. And I'm really eager to see these kids get out and work over the summer, and hopefully they can, help this team win some football games in the fall.
Right. And one of the things that actually I said yesterday, John, let me know if you agree with me, is by Kellen Moore being a first-year head coach and Tyler Shuck being his anointed one, his hand-picked quarterback. To me, if Tyler Shuck does not thoroughly outplay Spencer Rattler, or Spencer Rattler outplays Tyler Shuck, and Tyler Shuck is still named the starting quarterback of the New Orleans Saints, I truly believe that Kellen Moore would not be tenure as the New Orleans Saints will not be long, because he will lose that locker room. Because to me, you may try to sell it to the public, us, but who you can't sell it to is the guys who see these guys work every day, who on the practice field with them. Those guys know who should be leading them in the battle. What is your thoughts about that?
I definitely see where you're coming from there. We heard it. There were rumblings last year that guys were coming out of games and seeing Spencer Rattler, lose to the Packers and being like, why not give Jake Haener a shot? Like, we got to do something here. And like, we got to do something different. Like, why are we just sticking with this guy? And I don't know that we would have the same deal this time with Shuck, but yeah, guys see that. Guys talk. That's going to spread through the locker room one way or another. But at the same time, a locker room that's 53, 90 guys. That's 53, 90 different opinions. And not everybody's going to feel the same way. And really what Shuck needs to do is, like you said, leave no doubt that he's the guy and he's the better option here. So I hope that Rattler has a chance. I wasn't sold on what I saw from him last year, but I wouldn't give up on him either. Like, I wouldn't just say, yeah, you've got no shot here. I would love to see him get a real opportunity, see if he's can make some improvements, and be a viable player in this league. That would be awesome. But as for this, like, I would be shocked if Shuck is not the QB1, just by virtue of Kellen Moore had all spring to watch 6-7 games of Spencer Rattler and evaluate him and talk to him and see how see him training out in Arizona, and say, yeah, we still need to draft a quarterback with one of these early picks. And yeah, so I fully expect it to be Shuck. I hope Rattler has a shot. I hope Rattler shows improvement. I'll be surprised if it's anything different than number 6 here in September.
Got you. So with Shuck being, you say you didn't like the Shuck pick, and many around the country, for the majority, really didn't like the pick. Was it because he was selected at number 40? If he was selected, let's say, at 78, would that have been a difference? Would that have been okay with you? Or you think there is another quarterback that they should have went after, been more aggressive at going after?
Yeah, I would have loved to have gotten another player at 40, somebody who can come in, help right away. Maybe get a wide receiver there, maybe get a corner there, so you're not having to draft one in the 4th round and say, hopefully he can play this year. Get more of a sure thing there. That was kind of my argument against drafting one in the 1st round too, was like, whoever we draft needs some help. And if we can use that 9th pick on an offensive lineman, awesome.
Yeah.
If we can use that 40th pick on a wide receiver and then get the QB, awesome. Now, the other side to that is he wouldn't have made it to 71 or 78, wherever they were picking.
Right.
I've talked to some people around the Rams. They expected him to be their second round pick if he got past the Saints. So
I think I saw someone talk about that too. It was like 10 picks after they said he'd been gone if Saints didn't grab him. And, it was funny. Everybody, a lot of the comments we saw was like, oh, they're making that up. And it's like, I mean, I don't think people are just throwing that out there for fun. There was real value in what Tyler Shuck had to offer from a lot of different NFL teams.
Yeah, for sure. And, that kind of gets into the difference in perception and reality and where we think the draft is going to go and how teams actually feel about these players. I mean, I look at, talking about wide receivers here, Isaac Tesla, who the Lions traded like 4 picks to go up and get. They traded ahead of the Saints to get him. And there was a bidding war to go get this guy before the Saints could draft him in round 3. And the vast majority of mock drafts had him as like a 5th or 6th round pick. And so we don't know. There's so much we don't know here going into the draft because every draft expert has their opinions and every team has a whole team of guys who have their opinions and they're building their boards and we don't know. I mean, we could have a player ranked 150th and half the teams in the league could have him as a top 40 pick and we just wouldn't know until draft day. So yeah, I feel like I may have overreacted a bit in light of what I've learned since then about the Shuck pick. I still have my reservations about it. Being the durability issues with his injury history, his age, not being able to hold down a starting job at different places, that all concerns me. But look, I'll give the kid give him a fair shot, see what he can do. To his credit, he's doing everything the right way to try and ingratiate himself to his new city. And I'm really eager to see if he, what he can do over the summer. Seeing him sling the ball around at minicamp was really good to see. So, yeah, that was the pick I was probably lowest on, and it's probably the one I've come around on the strongest since the draft.
Yeah, and I think you're spot on too. Like if for some reason he would have fell, we would have got him in the 3rd. I don't think there'd be no complaints at all. Everybody'd been like, okay, well that's fine. We got a quarterback, a little bit of injuries, whatever, a little bit older, but we didn't waste any high value pick. I think it's the 40th number that everybody just can't get their heads wrapped around. And I felt the same way, even being someone that was a fan of Tyler Shuck going into the draft. But I was like 40. I was like, I don't know about all that. That one kind of took me for a whim.
Right. Yeah. I heard they were actually looking at the wide receiver from Iowa State, Higgins, but he went off the board, and so Shuck became their selection. Did you hear any of that?
Yeah, there were several receivers they were looking at over the course of the draft. That's one of the kind of interesting things to me is, and it's something that Kellen Moore said repeatedly leading up to the draft was we're not going to force a pick at QB. If the value lines up, we're going to take him. And so I'm like, so would they have drafted, Higgins over him, over Shuck at 40? How long would they have waited? I mean, would they have taken Shadur in round 4 possibly? What could have gone down here? And so that's kind of an interesting what if to me.
Right.
But yeah, Higgins was one of those guys. Trey Harris from Ole Miss was another one. There were several receivers they were looking at, and it just didn't line up where the guy was available at their pick. There was another one, literally their last pick in the 7th round was the punt returner from Montana State, I think, who the 49ers drafted, who I want to say they traded for that pick to get ahead of the Saints. Okay. So there were several times, with the Isaac Tesla, the other one I mentioned from Arkansas. There were several times in the draft where they're like, okay, we're ready to take our wide receiver. We don't want to trade up to get him. If he's there, great. If not, we got 10 other things we need to take care of in this draft. So it's not the end of the world. So
well, that's what's fun about the draft. It's, you go in, you come up with a whole game plan and everything like that, but come draft day, all that's out the window. I mean, like, cause you don't know what's going to happen. You don't know what's going to happen next. The guy you might have won, someone trades up, he's gone. Then now your number 3 guy is gone. Now it's like, okay, now we're number 4. Now we got to be like, okay, well, is it worth reaching for this player here? Like, there's so much that goes into it, and it's not as simple as just, placing Legos together and there's instructions.
Right. And something important to remember is every team has their own board with their own specific group of players they're looking at. The Saints, they like to cut it down from the 400, 500 draft eligible players. They like to whittle that down to like 115 names, 110, 112, something in that neighborhood. And so they have a very specific set of criteria they're looking for in the draft. And like you said, that leads to these situations where options A, B, and C are gone. Now we're on plan D, trying to figure out how we're gonna move here. But I think it turned out well this year. I liked a lot of the picks they made in the later rounds. I think they got several guys who are going to be active on Sundays, who are going to be helping out, who might be competing for starting jobs by being
Devin Neal.
So, yeah, Devin Neal, you're a great example. In
I can't believe he slid as far as he did.
Yeah, in a weaker draft class, he's a top 100 pick, probably. But I mean, we had 30 running backs drafted almost this year, so I'm excited for him. Danny Stutzman, the linebacker from Oklahoma, we're really eager to see what he can do. Huge culture guy as far as all that goes. Being leader, I think it was either Mike Triplett or Luke at the Advocate, who was saying that he was had a cult following at Oklahoma. I think so. So yeah, that's another guy who could have a role here this year. So I'm really excited to see how they compete over the summer and what they're able to accomplish.
Yeah, I mean, I know for me that I just feel like it feels refreshing. Even though we're in the bin a bit. We don't know where we're going to be. We may be middle of the pack again, or we might be number 1 overall pick next year. But it's refreshing that we got a fresh coaching staff. We got a fresh set of players. This is the first time since Drew Brees and Sean Payton that we've had a new head coach and a new quarterback at the same time, potentially starting. So, the fact that we have this new combination and everything, I feel like it's a good but scary place to be. At some point, we knew this was going to happen because every backup plan just wasn't turning out the way we thought it would. And now we get put in a situation, we get a little bit of cap back after Carr retiring. I think we're supposed to get some more cap space going into next year. We get a heavy draft where we don't try to trade up and get rid of, potential assets, potential starters, those guys that are stepping up to the plate, as you put it. So, I mean, to me, it's exciting. It may not be the most exciting Sunday mornings at 12 because we ain't got no other games. It may, we may be still a little pissed off, become 3 o'clock, until the Falcons lose. But yes, at least we know it's something new, and we're can see what the direction will finally look like. Will it be drafting another quarterback next year? Will it be we find a starter on this roster? What, who are going to fill in those roles like the DeMario Davis? Could Stutz be a guy that can fill that role out and eventually be that starter, that leader on the defense that we're looking for? Do we have a true backup behind AK that can eventually take the baton once AK decides to hang him up? There's a lot of promising things going into this season that aren't going to show up in the records, but will be things to watch for.
Absolutely. Completely agreed, man. Like it's a brand new day. It's a fresh slate. These guys really get to write their own stories here. And that's what's so fascinating about this process, as Kellen Moore keeps putting it.
Right. And as for these young quarterbacks, they could not have hoped or felt in a better opportunity than they have now.
Very true.
There's no incumbent veteran in the way anymore. The job is up for grabs. You got what? The longest tenured quarterback is 3 years in the league, which is on
3 years and 1 start in the league,
and didn't even get
and only started for a halftime.
Just a half. Just a half. We got the other one who to me Spencer Rattler showed something. But he did rookie thing. He has a lot to work on, but I think there's something there. But I mean, these 3 kids, and don't sleep on the young man they signed from the rookie mini camp, because Decker, man, I think they at least practice squad. He may push Jake Hayner off the roster. I just don't think Hayner is going to be in that number when it comes found a roster. I think they're going to move on from Hayner.
Well, like you said, Dolph, I mean, competition is good. You know, these young guys going out there fighting, competing to not just, they have a lot more to lose than what your veterans do. You know, they need to be in the league for X amount of years to get the health insurance, to get that generational money. They're fighting for their livelihoods right now at this very moment. And so there's nothing more exciting than that. We should see the best out of all of these guys, because you don't know if it might be your last opportunity. And this is the best opportunity to come into to become a possible franchise quarterback. And, when we talk about that, we're talking about 8 years, 10 years in the league, leading a team and hopefully leading them to, deep playoff runs, Super Bowls, all of that. So this has got to be like, the most exciting moment for them. And I'm sure that they're hyped up and ready to go. And I'm hoping there's going to be some fun competition. And to put the icing on the cake, we're back down on Airline Drive, where we're holding training camp. We're no longer in San Diego like last year with that BS, or California, wherever the hell it was hosted at. We're back in Louisiana, where the fans are going to be at and ready to watch this competition go down.
Right. So, John, let's talk about the soap opera, the story that isn't ending. John, why would a man give up $30 million if he wasn't in the wrong?
Oh man, just from the goodness of his heart, I'm sure. There's a story there. I don't have all the details. Nobody who does wants to talk about it right now. It's
right.
We're just kind of waiting to see who blinks first on that one. It's going to come out eventually. I suspect that Derek was doing some stupid, reckless stuff, whatever that may have been. I mean, whether it's reeling in a 700-pound sailfish or mudding when we're somewhere he ought not to be, or I don't know. I suspect he was doing something irresponsible and hurt himself pretty bad, and was at risk of losing the full $40 million if it had gone to arbitration. And I don't. To be clear, that's not something I'm reporting. That's not something I've been told.
Yeah,
that's just me. Trying to piece this together from what I can pick up.
That's the room out there. That's what a lot of people are in that thinking in that same category as you were mentioning right now.
Yeah, a non-football injury. I think back to it was either a Tua or Marcus Mariota got drafted, and they couldn't they according to their contracts, they couldn't go surfing anymore for threat of injury and shark attacks. And I think it might be, I think it could be something along that vein of a non-football injury that would have forced this to go to arbitration. And then he would not only have lost the full $40 million, that would have been tremendously embarrassing for a 35-year-old man who's been in the league as long as he has. And so the better option was, hey, I'll give you guys back the 30, which, let's be clear about that. He didn't want that 30 in the first place because he was hoping to get out of his contract back in February, March, and get out of here and go somewhere else. So that wasn't as tough a decision for him as it would be for other people. And then he still gets his 10, still gets his cut from it, which he was owed from the roster bonus that he secured last year.
Right.
And he also kind of gets that promise of, hey, if you want to retire, if you want to step back for a year and then reevaluate, try and rest up and come back next year, we, the team, are not going to get in your way. We're not going to try and hold your rights hostage. We're not going to try and get compensation for you going somewhere else potentially. Like we'll just call it a clean break. So I think that may have been what went down here. What the biggest relief for me is that it won't be our problem in just a few weeks. He'll be gone.
Yes.
He can create content on YouTube to his heart's content. He can a shoulder on the golf course, and then we won't have to deal with it anymore. So but you're right. It absolutely has been a soap opera, and I'm grateful that the end of it is in sight.
Now let's flip to the other side of the ball. Right now, John, as you evaluate this roster, what is to you the biggest need that is needed on defense right now?
It's either cornerback or edge rusher to me. I think I lean cornerback there because you've got, Kool-Aid McKinstry had some good tape last year, but it was a rookie year. He didn't quite light it up like we may have hoped, but again, he was coming off an injury. Like I'm expecting more from him this year. Alontae Taylor has been real up and down. I'm not sure that the Saints ought to be signing him to a 4 or 5 year contract right now, and he needs to prove that. And then we got Isaac Yiadom came back. I couldn't hold down the starting job here before or with the Niners last year, and so I'm kind of iffy on him playing 17 games as well. But he can't. I mean, he's done it before. It's just it's a temp fix to me. And then they drafted Quincy Riley in round 4, who look, I like him. I like him a lot. Really enjoyed learning more about him after the draft. I think he's got a really great opportunity to get on the field here. He's one of those guys I look at as, hey, he might be one of the 48 that dresses each week and gets on the field and plays some important snaps for us. So, and that's all well and good, but corner, depending on who you ask, is the second or third toughest, most important position in football, and arguably the toughest position to play. And I would love to have somebody more proven at the top of that depth chart. I was really happy to see that they've been talking to Asante Samuel Jr.
Yes.
Going to talk to him again in July after he has his checkup. My understanding is he met with the Cardinals, he met with the Saints, he talked to a few other teams, and what those teams told him was, "Hey, you need to have this neck procedure done, and then we'll sign you, because that's just not having it worked on was too risky." And that's why he had that surgery done in April rather than February, was because of that feedback from teams like the Saints. So I'm really hopeful they'll work something out there. I thought he played really, really good football at LA for Brandon Staley. And I think that's just a really smart fit. And I hope they can seal the deal on there, because that would give me a lot of confidence in the cornerbacks room that right now I'm kind of lacking.
Right. And we're being joined by the co-host of the Keeping It Real Who That Sports podcast. This is Derek, Coach Rock. Coach, how you doing? We got Mr. John Sigler in the building today.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. How y'all doing?
I'm just happy you're not wearing that damn Georgia hat no more, man.
It's close by. Go Dogs.
Go Dogs, man. So, John, when I look at the again, staying on the defensive side of the ball, and you brought up the need for defensive ends. Let me just say this about a young man that, listen, he earned the contract that he currently is under. But since he's earned that contract, to me, his play has not been the same, and it's went down a little. I'm talking about Carl Granderson. Is this an important year for Carl Granderson?
Yeah, I think so. He's playing in a new defense. He's going to have a new role compared to what he's done here before. He's going to be lining up a lot further out from the formation, playing a lot more wide nine, some 7-tech. He's going to have some opportunities, I think, to get matched up on tight ends and get more favorable blocking assignments. And I think he really needs to prove that, hey, he can be an asset in this system. Now, I don't look at him as somebody who we're not getting a good return on the investment there. But he just look at the numbers. He did trail off a bit last year compared to the year before. He went from 8 sacks to 5.5, I think. So the tackles for loss were down, pressures were down, but he was still, a productive player for the Saints. He's still a younger guy. He's somebody that I think is much closer to being part of the answer, part of the solution, than being part of the problem. And I think he's going to be playing a lot of that Khalil Mack role for Brandon Staley. I think he's got a real similar body type there, and I think that he could thrive here in this defense. Now, I would still love to have a viable third guy in that rotation behind Granderson, behind Chase Young.
Right.
But I think every team would say that.
Well, with you saying that brings me to the person whose job is on the line, a person that I was standing on the table for, and I was happy when the Saints selected him in the second round. But since he's been a member of the New Orleans Saints, he has done absolutely nothing. I don't know if it was the former coaching staff or whatever, but Isaiah Foskey is bordering on being a straight up bust. Now, I take no pleasure in saying that. I don't even like calling players bust, but he is on his way to being a bust. And as a second round pick, your claim to fame right now cannot be you played on special teams, man. What's your thought on Foskey?
Yeah, I completely agree. He's somebody I was real high on when the Saints drafted him. He did so well at Notre Dame in college, and it seemed like he was the right direction to go after they struck out on Marcus Davenport. They struck out on Peyton Turner. I mean, they go to a blue blood program. They get a school sacks leader, all time, team captain, all this stuff. And it just has not panned out. And he's had two different coaching staffs try and work with him. He's had every opportunity to get on the field and make an impact, and we just haven't seen it. And that's so disappointing. I know Dennis Allen talked about it a lot. And say what we will about DA as a head coach, the man knows defense. He knows defensive players. And this line he kept going back to with Foskey was he's in his own head. And he's overthinking it. He's not moving quick enough. He's thinking before moving, and he's not showing the athleticism we saw in college. And he was overwhelmed, and he really was in his own head. And I hope that changes now. It's been a big offseason for him. He got married. He's growing up a bit. I would love to see him mature as a player too, and really help out. And it's funny you bring him up. I was thinking about him earlier. We were talking about how maybe we would feel differently. Maybe I would feel differently about the Shuck pick if it was round 3 instead of round 2. And I said, oh yeah, that way they can get somebody who can help at 40. When did this? What pick was Foskey a couple of years ago?
Second round. What, 30?
Number 40.
Wow.
Yeah, so I mean, the cycle could have repeated itself there. So maybe they made the right choice after all. But yeah, Foskey was somebody I was high on. I know the Saints were high on him too. I really, really hope he can put it together this year. That light coming on for him would be so big for this team.
Right. Now there's a kid on defense that I like. He was undrafted free agent. He had a very good preseason, and he got in a couple of games in the regular season. The kid to me is always in the right place. And the kid that I'm talking about, I think he has an opportunity to make the 53 is Rico Payton. I know it's not the player a lot of people be thinking about, but just going back and just watching this young man, I think the young man is really talented, and I think he can actually push for a spot on the 53.
Yeah, absolutely. Rico Payton blew me away last summer. He just every day at camp, we were hearing something good about Rico Payton. Every preseason game, he's out there putting quality plays on tape, and he forced the Saints their hand to keep him on the 53, and he kept it up all year long on special teams. There were a couple opportunities where they got hit by injury bugs, and he had to come in, and he held his own. And that's somebody too where I'm really excited to see, maybe he can develop and become an asset. And it was, what was the phrase I used? he was indomitable, I think, or something like that. I mean, they kept putting higher and higher hurdles in front of him, and he kept clearing them. So, really excited for him. If they don't add another corner, I think that's somebody who could really impress us, and maybe fight to get on the field with the starting defense.
Yeah, Coach, you have a question for John? We can't hear you, Coach. You're muted.
I got something coming, but y'all keep talking. I'm coming. I'm just settling in from work. I'm coming.
Yeah. So what, John? What is the realistic? What should be Who Dat Nation's realistic expectations for this team this year? I was asked just the other day, though, what record are you going to give the Saints this season? Zach will tell you, as they are currently constructed, and I haven't seen the preseason game or OTA practice. I say 3-14. Hey, start low. Start with the lowest expectations. Anything above that, hey, it's green grass, baby. What's your thoughts, John?
Yeah, I gamed this out the other day. I did my predictions for every game. I had them at a 6-11 here, and the reason being, I think they're going to be healthier than last year. I think that's going to make a difference. I think they're going to have a lot more games with Chris Olave and Rashid Shaheed and Alvin Kamara all on the field at the same time, and I think the offensive line is going to be better too, and I think that's going to make a big difference. Now, the question mark at QB, that is that's the $30 million question, I guess.
Yeah, that's the difference between 3 games and 6 or 7, right there.
Yeah, exactly. So I put about 6. I put about 6 wins this year, and maybe that's being too optimistic. I think they're going to be competitive in the division. I think they're going to sweep the New York teams.
And the Falcons.
And the Falcons. That's 5-6 wins right there. So I can see it happening. I would be really pleasantly surprised if it gets up above that. But I think 6 is where I'm putting them right now. Now, if we get to camp and Shuck is not it, and Rattler is not doing much better, then we may have to revise those expectations. But right now, I've got them at 6, and I think that's a good number to start out with.
Got you.
Yeah, I mean, that's about where I was at too. I looked at it, again, without seeing any training camp, preseason, or anything like that. I was like, I feel like the ceiling is somewhere around like 6 or 7 wins, and I think the low end could realistically be 1 or 2. It's a really weird thing where if you get 6 or 7, you're still trying to figure out, like, okay, we're getting probably a top 10 pick, maybe just outside of it. I don't know, but you still got a lot of work to do. But if you get the lower side of things and you win 1 or 2, well, then you got a top pick and you just keep pushing forward. So it's kind of a weird thing. It's like I'll never root against my Saints to win. I'm not one of them type of people. But if they get 6 or 7, but we get that just off of, getting some scrappy wins, but the quarterback situation still ain't right, well, then we're still stuck in a bad situation too.
Well, I think that. Go ahead, John. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, you're fine. I think that's completely valid here. To me, in kind of what you alluded to just now, I think the more important thing than the record is what the team looks like. And if they're competitive, if young guys are getting on the field, if Vernon Broughton is getting on the field and playing 25, 30 snaps a game, if Quincy Riley is getting on the field and he's your dime corner, to me, that is very encouraging. And if we're seeing these young guys get those reps, kind of build for the future a bit, and if we lose 10, 12 games, that's what I need to see as the consolation there. I need to see these young guys getting those reps and giving me something to look forward to further down the line.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, and you mentioned, referred to the offensive line too, of how it, we feel like it should be much improved this year. I mean, we should be able to see that from game one. You know, what does it look like? What are the changes? Are they going to rotate the players around again on that offensive line? That was one of our biggest weak points last year. Can that possibly be one of our strengths this year? It looking like it could be, and if it is, there's a lot of youth on that line, and that sets you up, you know, for success in the future as well. So like that's my like biggest thing is I want to see some strength on that offensive line. If we can see that, regardless of what the quarterback play is like, I'll feel confident at least going, you know, I'll be excited to see what happens in the next 2 or 3 years, what quarterback replaces if those two don't work out. But that offensive line with 3 guys that are 3 years coming in a second year and then a rookie, if those guys can hold out and play the ball that we expect them to, then, you know, we're all of a sudden in a pretty good spot, or at least with moving forward, trying to find a franchise quarterback.
All right, John, I got a question. The first question for the chat for John comes from Tim Dunn. He says, do y'all think the tackles go back to their original position with Penny moving to guard? Your thoughts, John?
I think it's more likely that if they move the tackles around, that Penning just goes to the bench. My understanding is there's little to no shot he's going to play guard, where they saw him struggle at left tackle. They saw him begin to figure some things out at right tackle, and they don't want to move him out of that stance and switch up his down arm from his up arm, and possibly ruin that progress that he has made. Because if there's any chance that he can help out this team, that he can earn a contract extension and be an impact starter for them, I think it's going to happen at right tackle. I go back to Andrus Pete's career and how he got moved around from left tackle to right tackle to left guard. And that was the line from Sean Payton when they moved him back to guard, was we really think he's a better player on the left side of the line, whether it's tackle or guard. And I think the inverse is true for Trevor Penning, where he's figured some things out playing on the right side, and they really want to keep him there. And I don't think he would be an option at guard. Now, this time next year, it might be different. Maybe Penning isn't here anymore. And then you can say, okay, Banks, you're playing left tackle. Fuaga, you're going back to right tackle. Got our bookends. Let's go. But if there's a possibility that Banks could be a Pro Bowler at guard and Penning could earn that extension and be a 3, 4, 5-year starter at tackle, I think that they're really hopeful to chase that and see if they can make it happen.
I personally think Penning should be the swing tackle. I think he should. I don't see him. Everyone keeps saying guard. It's not that easy. Listen, I know, Tim, that's what everybody goes to. Becton was out tackle, moved to guard. Penning's not Becton. That's what I'm saying. It's not as easy of a transition from playing on the outside to going inside to guard, where it's all muggy at. You know what I'm saying? It really is, though. It really is. Well, tell us why, Coach.
Because you have less ground to cover, bro. Your assignments, you don't deal with ends, as far as ends being wide side, ends with all the moves. It's less ground, and it shrinks down what you kind of doing to a certain extent.
Yeah, the only thing why I was intrigued with moving him back to guard is just that it's his footwork is what really struggles. Right. He's not quick. He's not quick off the snap. His first step is not back, and when he does go back, he's too far back and then gets beat on the outside. So guard kind of limits those mistakes for him. But I do get what John's saying. I guess I didn't take that in perspective either. Of switching left to right, back left again, and switching hand formation. They've already been doing so much work trying to tighten up his techniques, and then it's like, okay, we broke through somewhere, through some barrier, and now we got to go and reteach it again on the opposite end. That's a very good valid point as well.
I'm under the impression he should just move on. To me, the Saints ruined the kid. To me, they ruined him. That's just my personal thought. All right. Any more questions for John? We have I got one. John, can you tell me about Diggs? Why did this kid fall all the way to the 7th round?
and I really think he was the steal of the whole Saints draft coming in this year.
Yeah. So Diggs was he wasn't the most athletic guy. He wasn't the most productive guy, but he was so solid, so dependable for those teams. He was a captain at A&M and at Syracuse. By all accounts, very high character young man. Very, very good in the locker room. And I think if he had run a little faster, if he had 5 or 6 more sacks, I think he probably goes a lot higher in the draft. And he was a fifth? I think he was a 5th-year senior too. Which there's been a lot of those with the COVID years and the NIL changing things. There's a lot more 5th and 6th-year players coming out these days.
Right.
And so I think he just wasn't quite all the way maxing out what teams were looking for. I think I agree with you. I think they got a really good value with that pick. I love everything I've heard about him so far, and I think he's a really good fit for this 3-4 base that Brandon Staley is looking to run. So they need guys with his skill set. They need guys with his sense of character, and I think he's in a really good position to make the team and make a difference this year.
Okay.
You got another question, Coach?
That's it. That's
it. So you think for Diggs has opportunity?
I think he's going to start by week 9 or 10. He'll be a starter.
So you got him making the team, and you got him as a starter by week 9 to 10. Who he replace?
I mean, I don't know who he's going to replace, but he's going to crack that starting lineup. Because I don't know who their bookends are right now. Because I know it's a new coach, so everything is up in the air for his position. So, but I think this kid can crack the lineup, man, and get valuable playing time.
Well, right now, they bookends coach is Granderson and, of course, Chase Young.
Well, he might get some time with Granderson. He might, because, I mean, at 3-4, you're going to need more than one. So he probably split some time. Then it just depends. He could flip-flop. Might put him package where they move Chase inside and put him on the outside, So there could be packages where, things kind of flip-flop on that line,
Right. John, tell everybody, my friend, where they can find you if they want for the great work that you do.
Yeah, thank you, man. Look at y'all can find me at saintswire.com. We're part of the USA Today's NFL Wires network. We cover every team every day. Doing really good work over there. Got some great writers on staff with me, and we're really going to keep the ball rolling through this summer, through this off season. So keep up with me there. You can find me at Twitter at John_SIGLERR. I'm also on Blue Sky. If y'all are up over there, you can find me the same handle. So thanks again for having me on the program tonight, and had a real good talk. We got to do it again here soon.
Oh yeah, John, your family, man. You're always welcome, and man, we got to get you on during the season, man, for our one of those Sunday mornings for our pregame show, man. That we do, man, to get your expertise. We know the Saints always will be playing at 12 or 3. Oh, before we go, one more thing I want to touch on before we get out of here.
Yes, sir.
Why in the hell is Colin Saunders so surprised and upset that the Saints don't have a primetime game? Was he not on the field?
Was upset up.
Was he not on the field and watching the debacle that we are? John, it was embarrassing, man. The Saints in primetime football was embarrassing. It was a shame the way the product they put on the field. If I'm the NFL, I don't want you on primetime either. Earn it this year, and next year we'll revisit it. What's your thoughts on that, man?
Yeah, so Colin specifically here, he let's look at this. He got drafted to the Chiefs and immediately won 2 Super Bowls and was playing in the playoff games, primetime games, everything. Right. And now look too at those primetime games last year. They weren't a lot of fun for us, but he had the time of his life in that Kansas City game, picking off Patrick Mahomes in the end zone and running it about 38, 40 yards. So for him, he's thinking, what more do y'all want me to do? Like, I'm out here. I'm used to this. And why am I not getting back out there to go intercept him again and get to show everybody my high school highlights as the 324-pound running back? So for him, he looks at it like, hey, I've been doing things the right way, and I've been making plays, and this is all I've known in the NFL, and now it's gone. So I really think that's where he's coming from there, and I think a lot of those vets probably feel the same way. I mean, Cam Jordan, Demario Davis, Tyrann Mathieu, how many primetime games a year did they get to play in over the last 10, 12 years to now being we'll see you at 3:00.
Yeah.
That's very true. Very true.
I
think if the only team that should be really complaining is the Titans, even though I still don't think they're going to put out a good product this year. But I mean, you don't have the Titans #1 overall pick in a primetime game. I know that it happened, I think once, like they said, like 5 years ago or something like that. But come on, man, that just don't make sense to me.
Right.
Well, and like even Thursday night football is reserved. Right. Yeah, and Thursday night football is reserved for those Titans and Colts games that nobody wants to watch. So I'm like. They took it away from them. I mean,
hey, trust me, I know. We try to live stream every Thursday and Monday night. Thursdays, I just don't feel like logging in, man. I hope I'm sick.
Yeah. Well, look, John, it's been a pleasure, my brother. Again, thank you for joining us today. We really appreciate you. Listen, everybody, this is John Sigler. I call him Sig. Thanks, Warrior USA Today. And for all y'all on Twitter /X, you already know you can go at Jordan if you want. He gonna come back at you, baby. So listen, Sid, keep up the good work, man. Listen, I'm gonna stay in contact with you, man. I'm gonna be reaching out to you, man. Again, I appreciate you always, man, answering the call, even if you can't make it, man. I appreciate you responding, man. You're a class act, man. Again, you're family, so you're always welcome here, man. And on behalf of Zach and the legendary Coach Rock, and yours truly, Dolph Jackson. Like always, love and who that? We all family. Have a good